No, my turn. Yes. Do it by yourself. Good. I'll be back.
We're totally independent. Yes.
That's what mine will say. I'll be like, hey, let's be friends. I'll just say, no, my turn. Like,
Does anybody want like a packet with the,
That's what ML's like. I'm an independent woman. I do it myself.
I'm like, it's not my turn either. I'm just putting your pants on.
Yeah.
no,
Trust me, I want it to be your
Mine's
turn
yes.
every time.
Let's put your pull up on. No, my turn. Okay. Great.
Yeah, luckily we're done with that.
Okay. you gonna
I
turn-
did that for like a couple weeks. We got out of that stage luckily really fast. I was impressed. All right. 1 minute. Everybody's here. That's good.
It's not council meetings. You try to listen online, you can't hear anything but these guys. Anybody just.
Maybe it's, yeah, Teresa just. switched
Yeah.
out and have one
Is that-
next to you.
Yeah, they're already back. An email or something like that. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah, do you
Right
get a
here.
response?
That's what I'm reading right now. Hold on, this is something else. Oh, this is about tonight. All right. You guys ready? Oh, John wants to see that. He didn't. Oh, sorry. It's easy. You see a quorum in the. All right.
You got real close.
All right, so we'll go ahead and call to order the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for Monday, December 13th, 2021. Go ahead with the roll call.
Chairman Ryan Green,
Here.
Ron Dane,
Here.
Jesse Koppel,
Here.
John Merriman,
Here.
Ken Lee.
I'm here.
All right, do the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'll go ahead and move on to public comment on matters not on tonight's agenda. And hearing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Move on to approval of the minutes from November 23rd. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll move on to application Z-21-204. This was tabled on 12/1. So we have to make a motion to untable that.
I'll make a motion to remove application Z-21-204 off the table.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
So this is a conditional use for 276 South Main Street. So we had quite a bit of testimony on this at our last meeting. If there's anything further from our applicant or our staff, I'd ask for that at this point.
Steph has no updates.
Okay. And I'll go ahead and open to the board, and then I'll open to any public comment on this. So
I
there,
will, go ahead, I'm sorry.
is there further questions from zoning board?
Yeah, so there's no further questions. I have not seen any new information. I have not heard any additional arguments, and I continue to maintain that with this request, be it well-intentioned for that specific parcel and pieces of property with respect to development, with the zoning being exclusionary and this particular request for conditional use not listed, it falls outside of what is listed in the conditional for UR1, that it does not meet the requirement for a conditional use request, and it is not, it should be denied on that basis. I don't think it meets any other criteria. I think it, again, as stating before, it looks at putting a commercial business in a residential area, which is a slippery slope for UR1 and anybody else that's in a UR1 or UR2 for that matter, with what this is being asked. I continue to say that the comments from the public that was here before support denying the application. But again, I do not want to sell short the vision of the applicant and what is being requested for that space, because I can appreciate absolutely what is being brought forth and the vision for that area. But with how the zoning is set up, how it's listed, how it's defined, it isn't something that I can support. I just wanted to continue to put those points out there, because for me, I haven't seen any new information that would change my mind otherwise.
Before you all continue, I apologize. I sent out an email before the meeting and I just wanted to make sure that you are all aware that the staff report at the last meeting had a misprint on it. 1131.06 was misprinted and was not relevant to the consideration. So it's actually 1131.03, and those criteria have been corrected, and the criteria that Ben read off at the last meeting were the correct criteria as well.
All right, we'll go ahead and open to public comment on this. Yep, if you could go ahead and approach the podium and give us your name and address.
My name is Warren Butt. I'm a resident of Johnstown. I live adjacent to property in question. I took a lot of time to think about this last week, and I detected a certain amount of angst and apprehension on the zoning commission about this. But I tried not to read anything into anything that I saw or heard. I do remain opposed to allowing the existing church and fellowship hall to be used for the express purpose of a commercial for-profit activity. It goes against my readings, my understanding and interpretation of what's in the zoning code. And so I'm totally against it. Further, I'm extremely opposed to having any kind of event which should possibly spill over from the buildings into the green space, or right now it's more of a parking area, green space right now. I would not want to see a wedding event there, a reception, a family reunion, or anything like that. So I would be opposed to any of that because it's be a nuisance to me and my property. I think that the proposed events would bring an immense amount of traffic periodically, perhaps on the weekend, perhaps not. We could look forward to as much, if it was used, a great deal. Every weekend we have a wedding reception, and all that entails. A lot of traffic on roads that aren't really designed for a lot of traffic. And we'd have a lot of noise, a lot of confusion, a lot of litter. I talked about the litter in my yard from the activities of the Youth for Christ, and for just ordinary parking where events in the social hall require parking, just in my yard. And it's left to me to pick up. Now, I look to the zoning commission. I don't want to appear to be lecturing, but I do look to the zoning commission. At one time, we didn't have zoning in the town. And it came about in the neighborhood of 50 years or so ago. You set up these neighborhoods to be free of commercial activities. And I believe that's what you should do. There's no compelling reason to put a for-profit commercial activity in our neighborhood. We're an older section of town, and that doesn't, not even a bit, justify it. You ask yourself, if you had the same chance to put a commercial activity in Khyber Run or in Concord Crossing, what would your response be? Oh, it's okay to put it in South Main Street. That's an older neighborhood, bunch of old people and all that. Nobody cares. But what about the newer sections of town? If you would be willing to do it there, then your vote here tonight is very easy to make. I strongly urge you to vote against this. I'm very much opposed to it. Not happy to have a commercial activity as a new neighbor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there further public comment?
My name is Sue Overholt, and I live at 280 South Casson, which is right across the road from the parking lot there. My brother Lynn Allen Salzer owned the property until his death in June, and I'm about to take over the ownership of the home. And I am very opposed to it going to a commercial. I've lived there along with my brother for the last 7 years, and of course, I grew up in Johnstown. I grew up on the South Main Street area. And church, I'm fine with, but with it going going to a commercial where it brings in more traffic on South Casson Street, which is not equipped for, we have two-way traffic and it's tough to get 2 cars through there. Parking along the side of the street, if it would cause that, that's a great concern on my part. I want to stay in the area because I like my neighborhood. I like my neighbors. And so I'm just going to express that I'm totally opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further public comment on this? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment. I know from where I'm at on this, I think coming in with a conditional use on this, although I'm in favor, I like the idea. I'd like to see that property cleaned up. Coming in on this as a conditional use or something that's not in the conditional uses of a UR1, I think is a problem. I don't know that there's a way forward through that way, possibly through a non-conditional or a non-conforming use or a total rezoning of the property possibly, but not through this mechanism. And as we said before, completely going commercial on that property, I don't think we're headed that way. We don't want to see that. People around there don't want to see that. And where we're at on this. So in looking further at this, unfortunately, I think that's the only way through. I know it can be used as a church. I know that there can be things done that way as total event space. I think it has to be more of a church than an event space to qualify as a church. So as I said, this one is tough. We want to see the property fixed up. We want to see good things happen there. We want the best for our businesses in Johnstown. We want the best for our residents in Johnstown. But this mechanism of a conditional use to come through with this particular project, I don't think is the best mechanism. We'll go ahead and is there anyone who would want conditions on this? Or to see anything else? Or are we progressing towards a vote? All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second.
We can go ahead with the roll call.
Jesse Cobble,
Nope.
Ken Lee,
No.
Ron Dane,
No.
Chairman Green,
No.
John Merriman.
No.
All right, I want to thank everybody for coming out. I know that it's not necessarily what everybody wanted. Like I said, we look forward to getting the best out of the property either way. That concludes our meeting for tonight, other than
Jared,
our zoning inspector's report. Definitely understand if you don't want to hang out for that. We also have some other business we'll discuss.
fine. Can I make a comment? So for the applicant, I personally just want to reiterate the appreciation of the vision for that space. Because I don't think there was a comment that that wasn't a positive vision to and desire to bring that space up to a better condition than what it is right now. And to see it used and still maintain its historical identity and historical application. But to reiterate, just with respect to the zoning code and how it fits in, it just doesn't fit within that space. So don't want to discourage the entrepreneurial aspect that you're bringing tonight, but just encourage to seek other places where maybe it could fit in a little bit more appropriately. So that's all I'd want to say. So thank you for bringing this together, for bringing it up and for having that conversation and sharing the vision that you have of that space with us.
Thank you.
Would it be a variance that could do it, or it would just be rezoning is the only pretty much procedural way to accomplish that?
Come into a UR1, going through it, you would either have to rezone.
Okay, I just want to make,
There's conditional uses that are allowed in each.
you're right, and it
in
wasn't
each,
specified on
this
that list.
wasn't-
Yeah,
this
no,
wasn't
I got
one.
that. I was just wondering what the mechanism would be, and it'd be, so rezone would be the only option. Okay.
Yeah, the more we look at the project, it just doesn't fit within that mechanism. You'd have to go rezoning, or you'd have to go something like that, or non-conforming use. And
Non-conforming is usually an after the fact. It's not
yes,
something you
yeah, it's usually an after the fact.
apply
Yeah,
it to it
it's,
when already there.
yeah, so it's not really the right mechanism. And obviously to rezone that commercial, we love this project maybe, but commercial could be a lot of things we don't like. So that's the trouble with this one. But okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to our zoning inspector report.
The rest of the report is, I did have a court case Thursday night with regards to winter items. Court case actually came up from September, just out of the docket Thursday night, and the property owner was fine. So just have a new issue I'm working with on Sunset Drive, trying to work with people who live there. I found in the backyard, they have a car under a tarp. And I don't know, I said 40 to 50 bicycles, it might be more.
I was back there, yeah. I had that on my list and then I saw it on your list. Yeah.
And then being in and out of the property, there was a pickup truck sitting there. I looked at it, and the license plate was expired 10 years ago. The truck, by the way, is going out. Also had an issue with a person who had a washing machine sitting in her front yard. And you do that on social media, but of course.
Yeah.
And, we do have two new medical doctors. I mentioned both of them are for sure going to be here. The one doctor, they bought the building where Dr. Peterson was.
Oh, cool.
And that's now going to be a doctor's office. And the other one is at Dr. Street. And both of these doctors, I heard the same basically story from each one of them. They're both basically doing a lot of the work already, but they placed two streets up. New way of business. Inspections were about normal for maybe June, not necessarily November. Unless you have any questions. There's quite a few things on the docket that's coming up. Apex, we talked a little bit expansion here. Tech's second phase of their expansion. I received a call about that yesterday. course, we'll have to do here the 8th hardware. Those are the ones that had some conversation about.
I'll bring up, I know the board we've had conversation with Pulte and things like that with respect to the light at Bigelow and 62. And there is some movement on that with Pulte. So Jack Liggett has reached out and has some preliminary information on that, but has requested some more detailed information about the interchange that they're required to put in over there. But I know that we've had a lot of conversations about it on this board and actually had them in, I think, at one point and talked to them about it. So
Yeah.
there is some slight movement on that, but the dialogue is at least happening.
We're working forward within the confines of what we wanted them to do.
And the other tabled application that you guys heard last week, the reason that's still tabled is that the applicant has requested to wait until January to hear it again. I'm hoping that means they're making some edits.
Or either that or for some new board members.
That will be the last COA that planning and zoning hears.
Yeah. If we don't, I mean, at what point do we just move that to design review?
I'd probably just have planning and zoning finish it out because you started it.
Right.
And then we'll move all the rest of the COAs to the design review.
I get it, since we started it, but
Yeah.
either way, I'm fine with moving it to design review. That's where it was supposed to be anyway.
I agree with Bailey. I think it should probably stay with planning and zoning, so you don't have the applicant have to go through everything all over again.
Right.
But I see what you're saying. I think it would be good to have it within.
I'm not a fan of dropping a potentially contentious issue on a brand new board.
But I
But
can
we
do-
had several, this board completely turned over, so we had to deal with it, so.
What I can do too is invite the design review, tell them that you will be finishing up a COA hearing and they are welcome to attend and.
Yeah.
See how
Might be
that
good for them to
goes.
see.
I'd strongly encourage them
experience.
to show up
What's that?
and weigh in if possible. All right, and then, so Ben talked about the neighborhood, that's what I had on there. So we talked about it in council the other night on time frame for bringing in new applications and getting us some more lead time on being able to work through those. Mechanism that we need to lengthen that, or do we do that? Is there something that we can write up? So to give us, instead of 3 days or 5 days, whatever we had, try to give us at least a week.
I think it's in the ordinances and when the agenda packet has to be out.
Yeah. So I don't know if we draft something and send that to council, or do we want to just do that at the council level, or?
Well, every section, my understanding of the way the code's written now, like how on the last one we had with a developer, like every section has a certain number of days in it, written in it, right? So it'd be
Not based on when we'd send the agenda out.
Based on when it has to be heard in front of commission relative to when the application was submitted, which is usually within 30 or 45 days. And, after approval by whatever administrative body approves it, then it's usually the next regularly scheduled planning and zoning meeting.
because
That it does make me a little nervous. So let's just say that there's a 30-day time frame. The applicant submits an application, and then we have 30 days to get it on the agenda, hear it, and put forward a decision, unless they agree, you come to a
Right.
mutual agreement to table it and use more time. If you change the ordinance to say that you want to see the agenda the week before the meeting, that means I need to add another week to the resolution that council just passed. So I'll need them to submit 3 weeks before the meeting, and that's already 21 days of your time frame to hear it and decide on it. So what if on that 21st day, you want to table it?
I'll have
and
to
they
look at
don't
how,
agree to tabling it.
I know Newark and I think the Taskell are both this way, but I know when we were building a garage over there in Newark, I mean, I had to turn in the paperwork and it was a variance. And I mean, it was a simple variance and we had to have it in, I think, 15 days before the meeting.
Yeah, we
Um,
require.
It was like 15, maybe even 30. I can't remember. It
we
was like 2
require-
years ago, but
2 weeks before the meeting, so 14 days,
Yeah.
10 business days.
We
So-
also, Ryan, don't forget the letters, also timed out.
Right.
Right.
In some instances, it's 7 days prior.
yeah,
Some is 10. So you always have to take that into consideration on the legal side.
So
a lot of
o-
moving
It's
pieces.
okay with, it's okay if you want to change when you see the agenda, but
Yeah.
then we need to look at all of the timeframes. We can't just change one thing.
I'm fine with it because I mean, especially for the larger projects,
Mhm.
I mean, if we get that on a Friday and then we have to have a decision on Tuesday,
Right.
that's not a lot of time for me to send emails back and forth because 2 weekend days, you can't answer my emails.
Right.
And so really I get 1 day to send my emails back and forth before I have to make a decision and go over it. So on a fairly large project, that's a tight timeline. And I know at least this board, we're all working, on a board that in the past, I know a lot of people, if they were retired or something like that, they have the time. But if we have a group where everybody's working, that's tight because you get a couple hours at night and then you get a couple weekend days. And to get emails back and forth and really get hard answers, that's tough to do.
I'm gonna make a suggestion of maybe having Jim and Bailey, would you guys be able to have some time over the next several weeks to kind of look at what those lead times are and bring it back to planning and zoning, and then we can review it and see kind of what the comfortability level is, and at the end of the day, maybe make a recommendation to council, because to your point, Ryan, I think there was some favorability on council about looking at the timeline for council packets as
Yeah.
well. So it may just be a holistic thing that has changed, but if we can give a recommendation from planning and zoning, that might help kind of set a baseline for what council talks about.
Yeah, what we can probably do is sort of what I've been thinking in my head since you brought it up tonight is maybe put together a table of what the application would be and how many days planning and zoning has to
Right.
render their decision, and then you guys can sort of all compare them and
And if we need more time with respect to, as long as it doesn't conflict with the ORC or anything like
That's
that,
what I was thinking. We could do.
to extend from make a decision within 30 days to 45 days,
Mhm.
we can
Right.
take that under advisement. I think we made some of those editorial changes on the new code coming up based off of what the application was, but
That's what I would say, because that way, if you give us more time, if we need more time on the back end and the front end already has a set time, then your time gets smaller in the middle, which we
Right.
don't want to cut that short either. So I like Ben's idea.
Steph needs around at least 2 weeks to review most applications. Some applications we can do in less time, but most applications we need 2 weeks.
We want to give you guys plenty of time to do your due diligence too. So yeah, I think that.
You also
I
gotta
like
make
Ben's
sure
idea.
that we're fair to the applicant
Yeah.
too with what they're requesting. So if they've got, an application in for something to where they're burning interest on something that they've borrowed, that we don't put them out for an exorbitant, period of time. So it's just, there are a lot of considerations, but if staff could come back with a baseline that we could jump off from, I think that might.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we can
especially
do
on a larger project, I think you need at least probably 5 business days.
I don't disagree.
All right, any other new business? Anything? All right, we'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Thank you, everyone. Have a great Christmas and New Year, and I hope to see you all in 2022.
Last meeting,
Ron's
Ron.
done.
Ron's done.